Most Dragon Quest games sold millions of copies worldwide, but one game, only 30,000 were ever made available for sale, and I guarantee you've never heard of it. I looked everywhere online, looking at every definitive list of Dragon Quest games and media. Not one of them, at least on the English-speaking side of the internet, mentioned this game. But before I can talk about that, I have to talk about this. No, not the box, but what's inside the box. The Docomo SH01F. A smartphone developed by Sharp and released by NTT Docomo, a Japanese mobile phone operator. But this isn't just any run-of-the-mill SH01F. Docomo, or Do Communication Over the Mobile Network, catchy name by the way, collaborated with Square Enix to release this limited Dragon Quest edition in December 2013. Only 30,000 of them were ever actually produced for sale. Originally announced on the 30th of September and showcased at a booth with this really cool looking display. Pictured here at the event are Yuji Horii, obviously the creator of the Dragon Quest franchise, holding the phone, Yoshiaki Maeda in the middle, the at the time head of the Docomo Market Business Promotion Department, that's a mouthful, and Yosuke Saito, who at the time was the producer for Dragon Quest X, and now most recently was the executive producer for the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. The phone was ultimately released on December 7th. With pre-orders going up a week earlier on December 1st. Let's do a little unboxing. The phone comes in this really cool looking chest style box. The phone of course is on the top as soon as you open it. The front looks very ordinary, but the back of the phone is engraved with the emblem of Roto, mini medals and various Dragon Quest monsters on this chrome backing. The box has these cute little slime cutouts, which, according to a 2013 interview, was apparently Docomo's idea. Then there's this book, which I'll get to in a second. A Roto-themed microfiber cloth, which frankly is absolutely perfect, because the chrome back of this phone is an absolute fingerprint magnet. And then there's some codes for some Dragon Quest mobile games and items, and the usual paperwork you get with every phone you buy. One interesting thing, this phone is meant to have lore within the universe of Dragon Quest. In that 2013 interview I just mentioned, the man in charge of this phone, Ryota Aomi, the producer of the Dragon Quest Heroes games, and the guy in charge of merchandise and collaboration products, said, "The material is metal slime, and a blacksmith created it from pieces collected by an adventurer by hunting metal slimes." It's nice to sort of tie this phone into the world and give it broader meaning in the context of Dragon Quest. And that brings us to this book. The Dragon Quest Smartphone Adventure Guidebook. Now this book is largely just the nicest looking phone manual I've ever seen, but if you look at the first few pages, it gives some further story and lore behind the creation and forging of this phone. They put a lot of time and effort into this book because they really wanted this edition to be something special. So the phone has a Dragon Quest design and a really pretty box. What does that have to do with the rare Dragon Quest game that I mentioned? Well, I'm very glad you asked actually. Remember how I said that only 30,000 copies of the game were ever available for sale, and how only 30,000 units of the Dragon Quest SH01F phone were ever released? So what, the game is on this phone or something? No, not exactly. You see, the phone is the game. They baked a custom Dragon Quest game and adventure into the very fabric of this phone, focusing on being able to play the game through the everyday use of this phone. Almost like it's the gamification of phone addiction. This whole phone is just full of Dragon Quest flavour. Custom startup and shutdown screens, locking animation, even the little battery indicator at the top is a king slime. The phone is just a labour of love and everything about it screams Dragon Quest. And of course the phone came preloaded with some Dragon Quest wallpapers because it had to. But what about the game itself? The game is called Anytime Adventure Dice. Again, impeccable naming. The game is available exclusively on this special edition of this phone model, so if you wanted to play it, you had to be one of the 30,000 people who bought this phone. You see, it couldn't just be downloaded on another device, because the game is part of the system apps and tightly integrated with the operating system. deeply embedded in the core software that comes with pretty much every phone. In this game you go on an adventure through dice rolls in sort of a board game style map. These dice rolls can be earned just by using your phone on a daily basis. To quote Aomi-san in that same 2013 interview, the more you use your smartphone, the more you progress your adventure. Like I said, literally the gamification of phone addiction. I use my phone way too much as is. The last thing I need is Dragon Quest to tempt me to use it more. But the number of steps you take, calls and emails received, all contribute to the progression of your character and the points you earn in the game. They designed this game to be very lightweight, something you can just pick up for 5 minutes on your lunch break and throughout the day. But the idea is to give a sense of adventure in daily life. I mean, the tagline for this phone is quite literally, every day becomes an adventure. Almost as though this is your Dragon Quest story. Yes, of course you have your own character. I need to stop holding this phone because it's just reflecting my filming lights. On initial setup, you create your character. Information on this can be seen in the adventure guidebook. You name your character, you choose the gender, and you select your initial starting vocation. All of this is essentially the same as if you were playing a regular mainline Dragon Quest game. Your vocation can be changed at any time by visiting the Temple of Dharma, nowadays localised to All Trades Abbey. At the start of the game you could choose from the 4 classics: Warrior, Mage, Martial Artist and Priest. Throughout playing the game and using your phone throughout the weeks and months, you can unlock Thief, Monster Master, Merchant, Gadabout, Sage and Hero, all very much staples of the Dragon Quest franchise nowadays. Every single vocation that you unlock or start with can be levelled independently. There's also better and better equipment that can be added to upgrade your character, and as you level the vocations, your character's stats will increase. The game really is quite big for what is essentially just a very niche hardware tie-in. They didn't have to do this, they could have just released a phone and no one would have thought anything of it. But I'm very glad they did, this type of thing is right up my alley. As you receive calls and open the app throughout the day, you might encounter a monster. Your phone might start buzzing in your pocket and you'll see you've got a call from your mum, but as you pick it up you're ambushed by a slime. Now you can defeat the slime by just answering the call, but this is a very important aspect of the game and one of the most addictive features. You see, in the game you have the opportunity to fill a sort of Pokédex-esque monster encyclopedia. The appearance of monsters on phone calls is entirely decided by random number generation, and the origins of the call are entirely irrelevant. But there's one other major collectible in the game. Mini-medals, a staple of the Dragon Quest franchise for a very long time. There are 999 mini-medals to collect in this game, but as you collect mini-medals and hit various thresholds along the ladder, much like in other Dragon Quest games, you'll receive rewards. Rather than just some in-game item like a weapon, you receive Dragon Quest themed emojis, animated sprites and wallpapers to use. I really love the integration of this game into the phone. You had to progress through the game to earn these mini-medals, and features that exist already within the phone. They're there, you just have to earn them. The person who had this phone before me never finished the game. They obtained 266 of the mini-medals available, which, granted, isn't actually that bad. That is the vast majority of the rewards you could get. From here, the challenge of unlocking really ramps up. You see, you've got to get 500 mini-medals for the next reward, and then the full set of 999 for the final reward. They did though manage to fill quite a lot of the monster encyclopedia. They found 361 of the 414 monsters that are available in the game. 414 monsters. So maybe they didn't complete it, but I know at least one person who definitely did. When I was just looking online at research for this video, I came across a Japanese user by the name of Vinaro Chan. For quite a long time, and in a total of 50 mini blog posts, they chronicled their adventures to completing this game. They obtained every single reward, encountered every single monster, they did it all 999 mini medals. And the final 2 rewards? Once again, a couple more wallpapers. I'll show the final wallpaper that you get once you hit 999 mini medals on the screen now. In a comment they left on their very last blog post, they said, "It took me 4 years to get to 999 pieces." Pieces of course referring to the mini medals. I have no idea how much they used their phone in that 4 years, but I think it's safe to say that if it took them 4 years, the game's quite long. I don't see the speedrun scene for this game taking off anytime soon. Like I said earlier on, the game that's included in this phone is not mentioned on any of the English speaking websites. It's not included in any of the definitive lists of Dragon Quest games and media, but it absolutely should be, because it is, for all intents and purposes, a Dragon Quest game. Had I known about it back when I made my Dragon Quest mobile game video, I absolutely would have mentioned this. Niche Dragon Quest history is the shit I live for. Even if no one else in the world finds it cool, I'm just so interested in this sort of thing, and I hope you're interested in it too. I can't help but just collect merch around my main interest, which is Dragon Quest. And that brings me to the next issue. I was flicking through this Dragon Quest adventure guide book just to see what was in it, but at the back of this book, and in some of the articles I read, there's mention of a phone case which was released exclusively for this phone, and it was sold only through the Square Enix store. So now I have to spend time and money tracking that down because the phone feels incomplete without it. The more I look into and learn about this phone, the more I absolutely adore it. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.